All right, guys, welcome back. We're in the second to last week of Lent. We're journeying together with the Hallow app, Pray 40 Challenge. We'll learn about the story of Takashi Nagai. You've heard us talk about him each week, so if you haven't read his story or caught up on the Hallow app, go and check out his story. Beautiful, beautiful, incredible hero of Japan, of Nagasaki. But three things we're kind of going to highlight, really, from this past week on the Pray 40 Hallow app. Number one is from this past Sunday, Matt, right?
Right.
We heard from Father Mike Schmidt's homily on Sunday, and that story of the woman caught in adultery. And for the Jewish people at the time, in the law of Moses, you could stone someone caught in
Right.
adultery. So they bring her forward, this woman caught literally in the act. So that's awkward, right? Like, she's caught in the act of adultery. They bring her before everyone, and they say, Jesus, we're going to stone her. What do you say, right?
Right.
And you remember what Jesus does, right?
Yeah, I remember.
But why that was impactful for you, and really what Father Mike said about it. Well, we could talk more about it, but what jumped out to you from that story?
I loved it because to me it was really impactful. I loved the way Jesus responded. Of course, he said, whoever has not sinned, cast the first stone.
And we don't know what he wrote. I always wondered, what did he write in the ground?
He knelt down and wrote in the ground, and then
they walked away.
They walked away.
Yeah.
So he stood up straight, and was really intentional about his response. And I love that for me because I think about the situations that we find ourselves in, especially as leaders, and certainly the greatest leader of all time, and was put in a situation where he had to respond to something, and how intentionally and calmly, with empathy, he was able to respond to the people, and then ultimately to the adulterer, the woman. I thought it's just amazing. It inspired me to think, and I prayed at that moment, like, how can I respond better to the people in my lives, the student athletes that I work with, the people that certainly are not sinning in that way, but whatever the case might be, So I thought it was pretty interesting.
And I like, one thing I love from the story is really how Jesus sees her. There's that famous line: "The devil knows our name, but calls us by our sin," and Jesus knows our sin, but calls us by our name. And Jesus saw, this woman, she's broken, and Father Mike said she's at this dead end in her life. Her life is literally going to end here. But also just emotionally, and you think of what brought her to that point in her life, she's very much not in the best state, not in a place where she's thriving. She's in this dead end of sorts. And Father Mike Schmidt said, which I thought is perfect, is how many of us, we face these dead ends in our life. Might not be that dead end, but every one of us has a dead end.
Right.
The loss of a loved one, we lose a job, or we're just struggling with, emotional pain or whatever it may be. But really, how those dead ends help us to realize I can't do it on my own. How I need to let go. I love how Father Mike said it's dead end plus Jesus leads to a new life.
Right.
And it's so true. And so often we're in our dead end and we're trying everything. What do I do? How do I fix this? And that's fine, but ultimately it's not until we say, God, I need you. Lord, I need you.
Yeah.
Where it's dead end plus Jesus, where we get that new life.
And I love that. It makes me think of a book, The Obstacle is the Way. And dead end, another way of thinking of dead end is an obstacle. I mean, you just get to a point where I have nowhere to go. I have no more answers. I have lost control. I can't fix this situation on my own. And understanding that it's in those moments, those are the critical moments where we transform our lives, where we can make choices to choose Jesus as our Savior and make a decision at that moment to find a better way and to get the answers that we're looking for. Because we don't know what they are.
Yeah. And Pope Francis uses this word a lot. He says it in Spanish a lot, but it's being auto-sufficient, self-reliant. I can do it on my own, which is great. We want to work hard and use our gifts and strive for greatness and all things. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is if I live this with the Lord. We're all going to have success and failures and everything in between.
Right.
But am I doing it with Him? That's the only way it's truly going to be successful.
Right.
And which kind of moves us to Takashi's life. The past few days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we've heard about the end of Takashi's life and really his heroism in the face of what happened in Nagasaki. Obviously, the atomic bomb happens. He survives. He loses his wife. Everything he knows is in rubble. And really, it's about where do we go from here? He's at this dead end, literally, of his life, losing everything. And all of Nagasaki burned to the ground. What do we do now? And what an incredible witness of faith, because this guy, the way he responded after I think he survived 5 years later, something like that. He died of leukemia.
Right, 5 years.
But in those 5 years, he became this hero in Japan not because he made a lot of money and was able to rebuild Nagasaki, but simply because of the perspective he brought of, guys, this life is not all there is. We're in this dead end, let's turn to the one who has
Right.
a place, a home for us that's eternal.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so he gave people hope of life eternal, this new life, right? As they strive to rebuild and strive to rebuild their lives and their families. But he became this hero. Even like Helen Keller came to visit Japan.
Yeah.
We were talking, and she said, "I want to visit." I think two things she wanted to visit were where the bomb happened. She wanted to pray there, and the second thing was she wanted to meet Takashi Nagai.
Right,
She's like,
right.
"Who is this hero? I want to meet him." You know, so super cool. Anyway,
The impact that one person can have.
Yeah.
One person. And sometimes, I'm sure we all feel that way. We think, well, if I'm doing all these things, am I really making an impact? Are people noticing?
Yeah.
Am I affecting lives? Am I affecting change? Am I being a disciple, right? Is anybody even noticing? And to be that inspired as he was, and that devoted, right? To believe as strongly as he believed and have the faith that he had, to change the lives that he did through his inspiration, through his constant prayer, through his steadfast resilience to learn more, to give more to everybody around him is really, to me, the message was that all of us can do things like that.
Yeah.
He was just a man,
Just
like
one faithful.
human,
He was just faithful,
right?
Oh my gosh.
So.
And how many people came to his funeral? It was like 20,000.
20,000 people.
20,000
Right.
people.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, 20,000 people at a funeral, just recognizing the gift he was to Japan and to all these people.
Yeah.
But the power of one faithful life, and that resonates, Matt, because so often, so much of our day and what we do is very like monotonous and simple. And I gotta send this email. I gotta make dinner for the kids. I gotta X, Y, Z. But like when in reality, like if we're just faithful and we do it as his disciple, like you said, the fruit is unending. Like the fruit that God bears is we'll never see it,
Right.
But gosh, maybe we won't have 20,000 people at our funeral, but when we get to heaven, we'll see. Oh my gosh, God, my faithfulness produced this beautiful fruit in this person's life, or this person, or my own life,
Right.
So yeah, the power of one faithful life, incredible. Takashi Nagai. But the last thing, Matt, I know every Thursday there's a Witness of Faith on Hallow on the Pray 40 app. So I want to hear your thoughts on this week's Witness of Faith.
Because you didn't listen.
Because I didn't listen. You got to catch me up. It's
You
like
forgot.
that. You got to fill me in on the details.
I don't even remember his last name. A gentleman named Larry was his name. He's a father of kids. He's got a wife, and he grew up in the church. He was faithful. He did a lot of things growing up to develop himself spiritually and become closer to God. But at a pretty young age, he got sick, and they found a really rare tongue cancer, oral issue that he had, and he underwent all the surgery, chemotherapy, and it just persisted for years and years and years into his intestines. He had all these internal issues, and several surgeries, all kinds of. He was never healthy for forever. Yeah. And he talked about his journey that way and how it impacted his life, and how he struggled along the way and constantly struggled. And it's a great story.
Yeah.
He actually just had another surgery very recently in 2025 in January, and is at this moment doing pretty well and doesn't know what the future holds, but it has tremendous faith. But one of the great things that he said was he watched a episode of The Chosen, which we've been talking about here a little bit at Bishop Moore, and was incredibly impacted by the scene with little James, right? And he had his own afflictions, and he was asked by Jesus, to spread the word of his miracles, and he asked Jesus, why would you want me to do this, but you haven't healed me?
Yeah. Like you're healing all these people.
You're healing all these people.
But I'm your apostle, and you're not even healing me.
And you're not even healing me.
So
and he basically said, isn't your testimony of my healing even more effective or powerful if I have not healed you? And when he saw that, this guy Larry saw that, he said it changed his perspective. It changed his life. And he actually was choked up when he was talking about it on the podcast. You could hear his voice. He was choked up. He said he saves the scene. He listens to it over and over again because he realized that maybe in this life he may not be healthy, but he will be healthy in his next life. So I thought that was incredible. And people are dealing with stuff like that all the time, all the time. And this is just a guy who's out there, and there's people all over the world dealing with things like that. And how else do you manage that? I mean, it is awful.
Matt, yeah.
But if you have the peace of God in your life, that's certainly a great way to try to navigate it. I don't know how else you do it.
No, because I mean that guy's story, as you're telling, I'm like, so many people live their life with so much pain, physical, emotional, spirit, whatever it may be. But it's like, I mean, we try our best to heal it. Obviously,
Right.
we don't want suffering, we don't want pain, but it's the reality of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And man, if I had to pinpoint like one, we're leading in a Holy Week, you know, Good Friday, Easter Sunday, like one thing that every year it moves my heart. I'm like, God, like, why did you die on the cross in that way? Like gruesome, like painful suffering. You know, like he probably experienced even the word excruciating, like
Right.
a word for pain, very painful. It comes from the word cross, like cruce, like in the middle of that
Sure.
word from the cross. So like the pain of being crucified. And like in prayer, when I think about that, I'm like, God, like, why did you do that? It's not really to take away our pain and suffering, but it's where to go with our pain and suffering. You know,
Right,
like because
right.
we can't. Like we try to heal it, we try to fix it, we try to alleviate it the best we can, right? But at the end of the day, it's a part of our journey. It's a part of our life. Every person, right? And just like this guy, what's his name again? Charles.
Larry,
Charles. I don't know. With Larry, I mean, for a lot of his life, he's been trying to fix it, and God bless him. Thank goodness we're trying to heal it.
Right.
But like, if it doesn't go away, what do I do with it? Do I
Right.
just sit there and like
Right.
in this misery, or do I say, Jesus, I don't know why I'm experiencing this. I don't know how to heal this. I'm at this dead end, but I give it to you.
Yeah.
Because you're on the cross with
Right.
me, you know, and with you,
Right.
everything takes on meaning.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and
It's a
for
mystery.
somebody like us, you and I, who are really healthy at this moment
Yeah.
in our lives, it's easy for us to say, yeah, that's really cool that he did that, and that's what he should do. But that perspective would be very difficult for us.
Yeah.
An example like Larry and so many others that are that faithful is that it shows us that it is possible.
Yeah.
That if we ever were in a situation like that, and whatever, it might not be an illness, it might be a terrible tragedy, might be incredible loss, whatever it is,
What inspires
that
us.
that it is real, and that answer, the answer of Jesus is real, and you can go to him in those moments, in all the moments, right?
Yeah.
Good and bad.
Yeah.
So I love the story,
Yeah,
and
you're
hopefully
right.
a lot of people will hear it.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
Matt,
good.
thanks for sharing, man. Beautiful. And this Hallow app, the Pray For It, has been beautiful. I've been telling everybody about Takashi's story. I'm like,
Yeah.
you got to hear about this
Yeah.
guy. You know, why do we not talk about him? This guy's a hero. But
And what did he
anyways.
write? He wrote 20 books when he was in the hospital.
Yeah.
20 books.
And the most famous one was the Bells of Nagasaki.
Yes.
And even the reason for that title, a beautiful story, we can go into it. But essentially, when the cathedral comes down, if you remember, the bells of the cathedral were lost.
Yeah.
And they found one of the bells.
Yep.
And him and a buddy were able to get it out.
Yep.
And they rang the bell. And like everyone, like everything was burned down. The bomb just happened. And they rang this bell, and they sensed this incredible hope that it brought people. Like, it was like,
the
oh my
spirits
gosh.
of the city.
Yeah. So anyways.
It's pretty amazing.
Anyway, so guys, thank you so much, and we're praying for you, and may we all have a blessed Holy Week coming up as we head into the Triduum, and we'll see you next week. God bless, guys.